Hi everyone, it's Blake with FishBait. This is part 2 of the language translations in the Forms Layout Designer. In this video, we're going to go into the details of how to use the Google Translate API with this solution. Let's check it out. The first thing we need to do in order to use the Google Translate API is to sign up for the API. You can do that by going to cloud.google.com/translate. You will want to log in with a Google account. You can see I'm logged into my account up here. And when you get to this page, you can click on the Try Translation API. This will then take you to the Google Cloud Console, and you'll have the option to enable the Cloud Translation API. If you want to look at the various details, such as pricing, documentation, anything else, you can do that here. When you go to sign up for one of these APIs, Google does require you to enter a payment information, just in case you hit one of the price points where you need to start paying for it. So you may be prompted for that. For now, I'm going to go ahead and click Enable. And that will take me over to the API services. And from here, I need to create some credentials. So I need to actually get the API keys. So on the left-hand side, I clicked on credentials. If I had any credentials, you can see here that it would show the various credentials that are already created. The other thing that it may prompt you to do is to create a project. I have already created one known as my LF Forms project. I also have one for the Laserfiche web client as well. So once I have all that done, I can come up to the top and say Create Credentials. It will give me the option of what kind of credentials I want to create. I'm going to select API key. And it will run through and create the API key for you. There really isn't anything else that you have to do there. I'm going to close that window, and you can see now on the page underneath the API keys, I have an API key. I can change the name of the API key if I want. I can click the 3 dots on the right and click Edit API Key. And then I can go through and change that name to something that makes sense. I'm just going to go ahead and copy my API key. And we will come back to using that. So at this point, I'm going to jump over to Laserfiche Forms. You should have already downloaded the forms processes. There's a link in the video description if you need to get access to those, and then you can import those into Laserfiche Forms. Be aware that you must be on Laserfiche Forms 11, Update 5, or newer in order to use these processes. So I am currently on the No Translations form in the Layout Designer. What I need to do is come over to my JavaScript, and down here where we have the Google Translate API key, I'm going to paste in my API key, and that will be used here in a moment. You will notice that on this form there are no other translations currently configured, and we'll talk about how we'll populate that here in a moment. So the first thing that we need to do after we have entered our Translate API key is we need to decide what other languages we would like our form translated into. You can see here on my form I have Spanish. I may also want French. So if I add French and I put in the language key for that, I can add that in there. You can use any of the translation languages available for Google Translate. So for example, I could enter in Zulu, and its language key as well. So now all I need to do is save that. And now I will preview the form. And now that I have my Google Translate API key entered in, the Google Translate button becomes available to me. You will notice that it has detected that there are no translations found. That's that area in the JavaScript where we didn't set any. And so it will give you this message letting you know that that needs to be set up. So in order to have Google Translate perform the translation of our form, all we need to do is actually click the Google Translate button. Once you click it, it gives you a little dialogue letting you know that the translations are happening. And when it finishes, it will actually present the different translations. It can sometimes take a minute or two, depending on how many translations or how many fields you need translated. You can see here that the translations have been completed. It returns it in JSON format that we're able to actually copy and paste into our JavaScript for that form. The first part is actually the English translation, because that was one of the options on our form. So I'm going to scroll down here, and then we actually see our Spanish translation. If I continue to scroll, we should see our French. And if I go further, we should see our Zulu. So the only thing we have to do now is just select all, copy. We'll go back to our form, select our JavaScript, and we're going to replace the curly brackets because it includes those for us, but leave the semicolon for our translations. And we will just paste that in there. And then we will click Save. And then we will preview the form again. The first thing you'll notice is that we actually don't have the translation buttons anymore because there is a translation already there. So if we choose Spanish, you can see the various items that have been translated to Spanish for us. We go back and choose French. There is our French translation. And if we choose Zulu, there is our Zulu translation. If we go back to the form designer and look at the JavaScript, if you look at where the translations are, where we put the API key, you will notice that it says remove this in production. It is only used to generate the translations. So you will want to remove the Google Translate API key once you have created your translations. You can get rid of it. And that's all there is for using the Google Translate API with this forms process. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them below in the conversation. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, keep fishing.